Saba kayong life. Hi everyone, it's Krisha from Third World Book Nerd. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, this is where we talk about books, reading, and the nerd life in the Philippines. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Today, I welcome you to my romance novel, Trash Can. In our previous video, we talked about all the books that I read during this quarantine season. I have read a grand total of 8 books from March to July. That's already a lot for me, okay? Don't judge me. What a feat, right? Wala to gitoyo, pero the latter half of the books that I read this quarantine season are all romance novels. So for my fellow romance novel enthusiasts, this is for you. The first 2 books on our list are from the mother of all romance novels, Tita Judith McNaught. Okay, so confession time. I'm actually very late into the Tita Judith McNaughty train. I started reading Judith McNaught novels back in 2018 with something... What was that? With Something Wonderful and Just Like Heaven. So I really liked both of those novels because they're so cheesy and dramatic and very campy. So this time I read Whitney, My Love, and Paradise. Whitney, My Love is Tita Judith Marie's first work, a Regency romance between this awkward ate girl called Whitney and the Duke of Claymore. Paradise, on the other hand, is a contemporary romance set in the 90s between this heiress, Meredith Bancroft, and a corporate raider, Matthew Farrell. But before we move on to review those 2 books, can we just appreciate the original cover of Whitney, My Love? Wala ka, ate girl. Awagod na. Hey. So reading these 2 novels made me realize nga there is a formula to every Judith McNaught novel out there. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, pero dire kay obvious lang gyud kay siyas tanan because these are 2 separate novels, but they might have been just one story. It's just that they're set in a different time. That being said, here are the 5 things that you can find in a Judith McNaught novel. Number 1, super long expositions. Feel na ko si Tita Judith, like she really likes to take her time to tell the story. Like, mga 3 chapters in na ka, pag siya nag-start ang story niya, makaingon lang yung kanang, tita, sana ang meet cute, sana ang action, sana ang story, tita, anong puro raman ni kanang kuan, background story, eklerlu. Is this gonna be relevant later along the way? Do I really have to know this event in her life? Pwede rin hindi mo ma-summarize in 1 sentences. Kung nagtanaw mo og Slam Dunk, pag bata ninyo, niya, kanang ika-shoot nila sa ball kay mga 2 episodes worth siya, nga usara siya ka scene, nga na ang feeling sa mga exposition chapters ni Tita Judith. Dugay kayo siya mahuman. Number 2, too many characters. Judith McNaught can give George R.R. Martin a run for his money kung ang basihan lang kay mga side characters. Like, daghan kay siyang side characters nga to the point nga murag madilute na gani ang effects sa story because there's so many storylines that you have to follow where in fact ang imuhang ganahan lang ma-follow is ang main characters, ang ilang love story. Number 3, ugly ducklings who undergo a dramatic transformation. Ang protagonist sa both Whitney, My Love, and Paradise fit this criteria to a T. All of them start off as really awkward, really not shufa girls at the very beginning. But then as they grow up to be this very, ooh, she's pretty the eye. They do like a Princess Diaries makeover of the girls to the point nga they attract the men in the story. So that happens here as well. Number 4, hot reformed rakes with bad tempers and an unexpectedly tender side. You know, it's very stereotypical in romance novels to find kanang mga bidas like these. Like, they could be, I don't know, dukes, earls, CEOs, the works. And they could be like really bad, really tough, man's man, alpha dude, whatever. Pero ika-interact nila with the ate girl kay mahimos lang witty and caring and gentle and some sort of like that. Both male protagonists in these novels share the same traits. They're kind of assholes And sometimes it's in a good way, sometimes it's a not so good way, but they basically fit that archetype. And number 5, main characters who have terrible communication skills. The story revolves around bad communication skills a lot, and it felt so contrived. They could have skipped all of that drama just like if they had talked, if they used their words instead of like storming out of a conversation or whatever. And perhaps it's a common element in all romance novels, but it's not an element that I like, so mana siya. Overall, I'll give both books a 2.5 over 5. They're very long, super long. They're like, each of them is like 700 pages long, but I finished it. I've invested so much time already, and I just wanted to see the end of it, but for some reason, wag yun ko na-satisfy niya. Ansa? Maligo ka? Ligo dali. Ato ka ligo speakas. Nag-shoot man ko karon. Stop! The next book on our list is a Regency novel by Sherry Thomas, and it's called Ravishing the Heiress. In Ravishing the Heiress by Sherry Thomas, we follow a super slow burn Regency romance between Millie, a timid heiress, and the Earl Fitzhugh. It's got a very saucy title, but in its heart, it's just one sappy, super romantic Regency romance, actually. So, in Ravishing the Heiress, we follow Ate Millicent, who is an heiress at the turn of the century. So, it's the industrial age, factories are all the rage, and Millie, bisag dili siya royal, dato kay siya tanan. So, she's pretty high up in society. On the other hand, we have the Earl Fitzhugh, or si Fitz. He's young, they're around the same age lang ni Millie, and they are forced into a marriage together because the Earl Fitzhugh is poor, Millie is rich, but she doesn't have a title, so their marriage makes sense. It's both beneficial for them. So, commensalism ang nagaganap dito. The thing is, Millie, we're siya na love at first sight ni Fitz, so that's fine. Fitz, on the other hand, is in love with this other girl. And nakita ni Millie nga murag, kana ako ra may sagabal silang pagmamahalan. So, she does her best to stifle her feelings for Fitz, even if they're married already. So, they strike a deal nga kanang, bro, okay, we'll get married, pero friends rata. So, nga na ang situation nila. The thing is, many years pass. They still continue this platonic agreement thingy. Nga murag unrequited love sa side ni Millie. But then, this katong previous nga true love ni Fitz, ibalik siya sa scene as a widow. So, kinsa piliyon ni Fitz? Si Millie nga iyang kuyog for these past pila na ka years, or ang katong iyahang true love pagbata niya nga nibalik na karon sa iyang life. So, muna siya ang chika sa Ravishing the Heiress. And I actually loved it so much that I finished it in one sitting. I know nga based sa Goodreads, dili nga anak ka nice ang iyahang ratings, because people saying, oh, Millie's so stupid, how does she condone Fitz's behavior, Fitz is an asshole, blah blah blah. Pero parang ako, nindot magugay siya good. I like how there are valid reasons for their behavior. Like, dili lang gani murag, ing ani ang behavior kay, wala lang, gusto lang sa author. Their characters are very well formed that you can justify their actions based on how their characters were written. Nothing is too forced or contrived. All of their actions actually contribute to the character's growth, which I loved. So, bisag maingon ka nga, Krish, romance novel raman na siya. It's not that serious. But no, actually, romance novels are very good at writing characters that are human. So, that's something that I like. The only thing that I didn't enjoy much about Aning Alibruja, it's too short, I feel like. Lol, unsa man gyud ganina si Tita Judith taas kayo kani too short na sad. No, I felt like there should have been more groveling. Wala na ako maingon. I don't want to say so much for fear of spoiling it, pero I just wish there was more groveling in this book. If you want to read a Regency romance that has unrequited love, mutual pining, and a slow burn romance, I highly recommend Ravishing the Rest by Tita Sherry Thomas. So yun. Next up, we have Ain't She Sweet by Susan Elizabeth Phillips. Ain't She Sweet by Susan Elizabeth Phillips is a contemporary romance set in the American South. So, disclaimer, I really love Susan Elizabeth Phillips. She's the author of some of my favorite romance novels like Natural Born Charmer, her Chicago Stars series. I read them all. There's so many of them, but I finished them all. And this one, the latest book that I read, Ain't She Sweet. I've put off reading Ain't She Sweet for so long. Kaya feel na ko, dili kay ko makarelate sa yung story. But when I actually read it, karong quarantine season, I was pleasantly surprised that it was a very, very, very good romance novel. Actually, Tita Susan, like Tita Judith, has a formula to her stories. It's almost always set in the South. Number 2, there are pets involved. Number 3, there's one troubled kid involved that they try to adopt, mar pinafound family ang peg. And number 4, there is almost always a second couple that finds their own romance in the story. However, I still dig it. You know, the thing that I like most about romance novels is a lot of things can happen, but the assurance that you get a happily ever after at the very end makes it all worth it. And that's what happens here in Ain't She Sweet. In this book, we follow Sugar Beth Carey, who's like the Regina George of her town. So she was the hot chick, basically, and she had everything. She's rich, she's smart, she's pretty, she had everything. But she's also a bitch. So, many years later, we find Sugar Beth on her last dime on her gubaon car on a rainy day, trying to get back to her town, like with her tail tucked behind her legs, basically. So, isa na siyang talunan ngayon, mga momshi. On the other side of the equation, you have her love interest, who's this sulky writer guy who Sugar Beth has wronged in her previous life. So they all come back together in the small town and chaos happens, and somewhere along the way they fall in love. So wala na siya ang chika. I really like it because on one hand, you have this misunderstood heroine who needs redemption, and on the other, you have this hero who's seeking revenge and vindication. So it's like an enemies to lovers at the beginning. But then as the story slowly unfolds, you kind of see the layers in between all of their interactions, and it makes it all the more engaging. It also has great side characters with their own satisfying arcs, so the more the merrier. I also love how Tita Susan always puts her bidas against the wall. Like, she really dreams up the super worst case scenarios for them to really grow out of their character. And the slow reveal of it, the slow progression from this person that she was to the person that she is at the end of the book was super. It's a very good storytelling. So yeah, this is one of my most favorite Susan Elizabeth Phillips books, and I'll give it 5 shiny romance novel stars. So yun. The last book on this list is actually not a book. It's a fanfic that's a novel's length, so it still counts. It's called All My Days by Voice Implosives. So this is a fan fiction featuring Raylo. Here's my ship triumvirate: Raylo, Zutara, and Ramioni. This is actually a retelling of Persuasion by Jane Austen, but it's set in space. It has all the drama that I want from Persuasion, plus Raylo and their force bond, plus Star Wars elements. So, what's not to like? Of course, Ray is Anne, and Captain Wentworth is Captain Ben Solo, and they met in Jakku. And all of the things that happen in Persuasion also happen in this novel, and it's so silly how everything just fits together. I love it so much. The author really went out of her way to really flesh the characters out, and I love how fitting Ray and Ben are to the original characters in Persuasion. If you love Raylo and if you love fanfiction, this is one of the works that I highly recommend. You can find it on Archive of Our Own. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can find it and read it for yourself. Okay, so that's about it. That's all of the books that I have read this quarantine season, and all of them are romance novels. So if you're a romance novel enthusiast, I hope that you liked this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and maybe share this one to your romance novel loving friends. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. This has been Krisha from Third World Book Nerd. Goodbye. Me, unsa man na, me. Makag si Lord Farquaad.
Oh, Lord Farquaad is cute.
It's not really that. May pahawa na diri, Bing. Nag-shoot pa ko.